Revoked parole placement decision for Theo and Willem Oosthuizen. The High Court in Middelburg had in 2017 sentenced the pair to 16 and 11 years behind bars in what became known as the coffin case. Victor Mlotshwa was forced into a coffin and threatened with death by the farm workers who claimed that he had stolen copper cables. It says, upon studying the Correctional Supervision and Parole Board decision, the department noted with grave concern that the lack of participation by the victim of the crime in the parole consideration process. And joining us now to talk more about this is Singabakho Nxumalo from the Department of Corrections. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us and thank you for your patience. So, I mean, it baffles me how this could happen because the Department of Justice and Correctional Services is always very adamant that when it comes to parole that there are very strictures that are undertaken, and a big part of that is consultation with the victim.
Evening, and thank you for inviting us. What you're saying is very correct, because what I've been saying is that an efficient criminal justice system is where the victim is placed at the center, and that's what I think everyone in the JCPS class there is driving currently, to say we're moving towards an integrated justice system where the victim is centric towards that. And even as correctional services, over the years we've been looking at our systems, and one of the things that we did was to say the issue of a victim participating in the entire correctional program of an inmate is very important. It mustn't be an issue where it must only come at the end when someone is to be considered for parole placement, so that it gives some form of comfort to the victim that indeed this person has undergone rehabilitation. What's happening currently is that it's been seen by people as if it's just, a ticking box exercise for one, to either...
So then there's room for people to fall through the cracks?
The system is being reviewed to ensure that the gaps which are there, we close them. For instance, currently, the parole board may opt to say that consultation, could be done when a parole is already out, and we're saying no, it cannot be. It has to be done when an inmate is still inside, so that you minimize the harm. You start even break that ice.
So is this what happened in this case? That
For instance, with this particular case, the recommendation was that victim participation would be done when the two are out, and we said no, it cannot be. It has to be, it needed to be done when they were still inside, so that the victim is not taken by surprise. Suddenly.
Which is what I'm thinking, because it would appear as very insensitive to the victim, who's already traumatized. I mean, he said that many a times, how traumatized he was by the incident, and even traumatized by the sentence to some extent. So, again, I ask, so basically, where does the buck stop in terms of who was responsible for this decision?
I think the law is currently, I think it does assist us in a way to say where we pick up that there's been, a particular practice which is foreign to what is supposed, or what is needed. We are then able to act, on that, because even with this particular case, when it came to our attention, we said, no, we needed to act, immediately. Hence, we said,
has the department become more proactive, especially given recent cases of suspects who were involved in alleged killings, alleged rapes, young children of vulnerable children, because they were out on parole for crimes that they've committed before?
To us, it's not just about parole-related issues. It's about the entire correctional system, the rehabilitation, our security. We've had working sessions, I think, more than 6, in just 12 months, where we call, all like heads of centers or officials, social workers, psychologists, to say we need to ensure that, the system is tight. We need to ensure we abide, by our policies, because when you look at the act is still okay. The problem is when it comes down to the actual practice. That's where at times officials, will opt, to comply with certain things, and at times not. We're saying no, that cannot be. And we've said now with what has been happening with issue related to parole, to say the parole boards must also come to the party. You also have to ensure to say who get to sit in, in that parole board, and also to say the type of interface between us as correctional services, your justice system, the NPA and the police, when you get a profile of someone who's just been sentenced, what type of information is contained there? And when we're about to now place that person on parole, who do we liaise with outside, besides just the victim and the family, but also other law enforcement agencies, so that they are now aware that in this particular area there's someone who's just been placed on parole, so that even when they do their own monitoring or when new things suddenly emerge in that area, they are aware of certain dynamics and people who are there, because we feel that that will really assist us in a long run.
So how would Section 77, subsection 1 of the Constitution help you in doing that? If you're saying the law is adequate.
That section in actual fact is Correctional Services Act. It says once we've picked up that something may not have been done properly by the parole board, then we can take that issue up to the parole review board. Then the parole review board is a structure which is constituted by members of we call them NCCPS. So that structure is made up of judges from the High Court, members of the police, representatives from the
Okay, because we have run out of time, Mr. Nxumalo, do you think that there are more than one case as you've highlighted? As in, are there similar cases out there that would require a similar microscopic lens at what's the problem here? Because I'm thinking there are many other concerning areas, as you've highlighted.
The reason we're having these working sessions, with our region specifically for that, to say even when officials may have acted, where parole boards may also have, taken certain decisions, they're able to go back and check if indeed they followed, the procedure, and when not, they're able to, to act on that. We do not have to sit back and wait for one case, because you will know, case that will make it, to, headlines are those who were prominent, when those people, were taken to court. So I was saying it cannot be. The justice system must be fair to everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us. That was Singabakho Nxumalo from the Department of Correctional Services.